In this video, I'll look at elegant mesh flow in Maya. As an example, we'll look at the eco to start. He's got an all quads mesh flow, meaning that all his polygons are four-sided. And he's also been unwrapped. Under Edit UVs, I'll open up the UV texture editor and take a look at the shells. In the texture editor, I can see the shells are laid out pretty decently, as distortion-free as possible, and occupying as much of the space as they can. We could probably scale some things up a little bit better for a little added detail, but this will work. I'll turn off the background picture and shade the UVs so I can see it. This is a pretty good unwrap on a pretty good model structure. A good structure makes for a good rig, good animation, and fewer artifacts in rendering. It also makes for better transfer between other programs, such as Mudbox. In this example, then, I'll put a shirt on him, giving him a First Robotics t-shirt. I'll switch to a front view. I want to start out using a subdiv proxy workflow, where I'm going to model half the shirt and see the other half mirrored over. I'll hold Shift and right-click and make a polycube. I'll also turn on Wireframe on Shaded so I can see his center line. I'll start out with a box roughly around the chest, and then I'll move this box to line up on his center. I'll press V and D, Victor and David, to move the pivot of the box onto a corner, and V for snap, snapping the box in the center line. Now when I mirror this over, it'll be on both sides. I'll use my hotbox to go into a perspective and just make sure the box is roughly in the right position. Looks like I need to take the back polygon back so the shirt will fit over him decently. Now it's ready for a proxy. What I want to do for a subdiv proxy is delete the center face of this box, opening up the structure. With the box selected, I'll choose Proxy, Subdiv Proxy, and I'll use the dialog next to it. In the Subdiv Proxy dialog, I'll go down to Preserve and check Hard Edges. I also like to use a half mirror. I'll do a half mirror on the positive X, and where I get that from is the red X is pointing across him, so a positive X mirror, and I'd also like to keep the existing material on that object, and I'll hit Smooth. What it shows me then is a smoothed proxy side, where one side has been divided with one iteration, making every polygon divide into four. For basic modeling, what I'll do is actually take the divisions down to 0 temporarily. I'll select the proxy, press Ctrl-A to go back to the attribute editor, and in the polysmooth proxy, enter 0 in the division levels. Now I'm ready to model. I'll work on one side exclusively. First, I'll go under, pick F11 for face, and select the bottom face. I'll hold Shift and right-click and choose Extrude Face. I'll also press Ctrl-A to go back to the channel box and slim this down in the UI a bit. Now I'll pull this face down, and then start to flare out the shirt a little bit around the hips. I'll press F10 for Edge, W for Move, and start moving things and shaping them. Looks like I also need to give him a little extra room in the middle too. He's a little round in the belly. I'll take the shirt and start to tuck it up back on the shoulders. Once I've got this far, I need to add in additional geometry. On my hotbox, pressing spacebar, I'll choose Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop tool. I'll run an edge loop along the side and right up and over the middle. Now I'm ready to start to add in the sleeves and round over the initial shape. As always with modeling, I always want to get the maximum out of geometry before I add more. I'm going to pick these two edges here on the original corner, and I'm going to break the box. I'm going to push those corners in to round that over. If you want, if it's disturbing in the view, you can soften those edges. I'll hold Shift and right-click and choose Soften Harden Edge, Soften Edge. Now his shirt wraps around cleanly. I'll do the same on the back, using up all the possibilities with all of my geometry before I add more. He's fairly set. The goal in this is to make the shirt a cloth object using endcloth, and once he's animated, have the shirt follow him. I'm ready to add in some additional edge loops so I can pull the sleeves out of the shirt. I'll hold Shift and right click and insert an edge loop again. I'll land an edge loop on the model right here under the armpit. Good. Now I'm ready to extrude out the sleeves. I'll hit F11 for face, W for move, and pick the two polys on the side where the sleeve will be. I'll hold Shift and right click and choose Extrude Face. For this, I'm going to switch back to a front view so I can see him clearly. I'm also going to switch over to the world axis. We can see the indicator up here in the top right on the Extrude tool. I'll click on it, and now this is going to move on the world coordinate system. I'll pull the sleeves out and down. Switching like that may avoid those sleeves flaring out too much at the end. We can always scale things and rotate as we need. One of the things I'll also do is scale as part of this extrusion to flatten out the end of that sleeve. Notice that his sleeves are closed off. That's good because it's going to let me round over the sleeve, landing an edge loop across the scapula and shoulder blades, around the sleeve, and up around the front. Well, that is if ecos do have scapula and shoulder blades. Anyhow, one more edge loop. Hotbox, Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop tool. There's an edge loop wrapping around the front, which is going to give me an 8-sided t-shirt arm. Now I can start to take the edges, pressing W for move and F10 for edge, and pulling them in, breaking the box again. I'll pull them in and down, and pull them in and down, and round over that arm. I want to keep it as low poly as possible. I can always come back and subdivide if needed. I'll finish this out and shape the shirt around him a little more and show what it looks like when I'm done. I've shaped the shirt a little better around him, and I need to do some last cleanup. I'll hit F8 for object mode, select the shirt, and isolate the selection by choosing Show, Isolate Select, View Selected. I need to take out any extra polygons. I'll take out the new polygons in the center that were formed as part of the extrusion. I'll also remove the polygons at the bottom of the shirt, so it can be an open garment. Lastly, I'll delete the polygons that are capping the sleeve so it's open. And I'll watch out for any additional polygons in the middle. He's got a t-shirt that's ready for unwrapping and simulation as cloth. I'll probably do some additional subdivision work on it before then. However, I want to stress this is an all quads workflow. It's an elegant mesh flow where edge loops wrap cleanly around a model and back, without T's and without triangles. This will animate nicely.